The following program is a Creative Magic Network production.
You're listening to the Frederick Bai Show, where sky is the limit and space is the place. Here's your host, Frederick Bai.
Alrighty, hello everybody. Welcome. Come on in, sit down, relax, put your earbuds on. Maybe you're doing the dishes, maybe you're shopping, maybe you're taking care of the baby. Whatever you're doing, welcome to the Frederick Bai Show, and this radio podcast is about unleashing your creativity. We talk to experts of who step into the unknown. It is an inspirational, magical, intuitive radio podcast as we chat with charismatic enigmas. That's right, from around the globe. Musicians, singers, radio hosts, business people, photographers, everything in between. I am Frederick Bai, the Tower of Power, too sweet to be sour, funky like a monkey. Hey, in this place, sky is the limit and space is the place. I am your favorite French Canucker, and today we're going to talk about the soul. That's right, people. Look, if you want to live a creative life, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, you have to live from the soul. You have to be in touch with your soul. To me, creativity is just your soul in motion. That's what I think it is. And today we're going to talk about soul courage, and her name is Tara-Jenelle Walsch. She's the author of the book Soul Courage and the founder and spirit behind the greeting card company Celebrate. Celebrate cards are being sold in hundreds of stores worldwide, carrying her messages of encouragement and empowerment, as well as specialty designs created for best-selling authors, such as Tony Robbins, Byron Katie, and Neil Donald Walsh. Welcome to the show, Tara.
Hi, how are you? You're fun. I didn't even realize how fun and crazy you were.
Okay, thank you. So look, your book, we're going to talk about your book today. We're going to talk about soul courage. I think that's just an important subject and an interesting subject. But right before we get into it, though, give us an idea here of your background a little bit.
My background is in like education and things like that, or just like what I've gone. Where
do you come from, Tara? Where were you born, and what brought you to be in touch or to talk about the soul and these types of subjects?
Right. Well, I was born in Annapolis, Maryland, and I went to Towson State University and got a degree in communications and all that good stuff. What happened in a nutshell, I'll give you the nutshell version because I couldn't make it long and beautiful. After college, everyone was saying, what do you want to be when you grow, what are you going to do? And all this pressure. And I couldn't quite figure it out. And I just fell into this deep depression. I started taking jobs that felt soulless, if you will. They just felt like, this isn't me, really.
I know that feeling.
Yeah. It's like, this is not how I visualized myself being when I was a little girl. And this is what it's all about. I felt empty, going through, waiting to the end of the week to get my paycheck, clocking in at 9, checking out at 5, the whole bit. I was just depressed. And I ended up taking on an eating disorder for about 7 years. And I'm not sure what happened first, the depression or the eating disorder, but they just both spiraled into one another. And they just fed one another, if you will. Mm-hmm. And it just, what happened to me was I was admitted to the hospital, Johns Hopkins in Baltimore. And I realized when I got out of the hospital, something profound. I realized that I had been numbing out my feelings and the expression of them for so long, out of who knows what, fear mainly. But consequently, it had made me feel not connected to life, to other people, but most importantly, to myself. I didn't even know. I just lost touch with who I was and what I felt and the excitements and the inspirations and just, talk about creativity, forget about it. I was way past that. So when I walked out of that hospital, I'll never forget, I realized because I was so raw from being in the hospital for almost 2 months and being protected from real life. And I didn't have any of my mechanisms that I had used, food and sleep and everything that I had used to numb myself out with. I didn't have those. And I was like, nervous, like, oh my gosh. And I saw, when I looked around, it felt like over half the world was doing the same thing that I had been doing, that no one was really being authentic. Yeah. No one really being right there with themselves and connecting and feeling. Everyone was just kind of skimming the surface. Mm-hmm. And that's when I had my soul opening awakening.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. Let me ask you this. Let's go back to your degree in communication. A lot of kids, even today, when you get to be 19, 17, it's time to make a career decision. And a lot of them, they come from families that they say, hey, you got to be a doctor, an engineer, or a lawyer, otherwise you're going to be a screw up in life. Did you have that pressure growing up? And what was the mindset of the adults around you when it came to your career? If you even considered it, I don't even know if you considered it. Doesn't seem like it. But, what was the mindset of the adults around you when it came to your career in entrepreneurship or art or, a creative career?
Well, the mindset was kind of the opposite, and I was not having it. The mindset was you got to start from the bottom and work your way up. That's the way you do it. Become a secretary, and soon one day someone will notice your talents and so forth. And I was like, what? No. No, it's not me. And the mindset was also, back then I wrote a lot of poetry. I used to write a lot, and I thought I wanted to be a poet. And I heard from several adults, you can't make a living being a poet. Get out of dreamland. Who do you think you are? And I was just distraught with despair. Like, what? Like, that's the only thing that sings to me in this moment, because I probably was in a place of deep introspect. That's what I connected with, the poetic side of me, that going within, and the insight and the wisdom that came from within. And when I was told that wasn't happening and you got to just grow up and choose a quote career, I was like, oh my God, the harsh reality of that that was very sour to me. So,
you said you wanted to be a poet. Were you a reader?
Well, I read, but I'm talking back then. It wasn't the way I read now.
Okay, yes. But back then, what did you used to read?
Well, I would skim poetry books, and then of course, Hemingway and things like that we had to read in school. But it was more younger books. Why? What are you reading? What do you got?
Me right now? I read a lot of things. I read mostly novels. My favorite author is Paulo Coelho. I read most of his books. Obviously The Alchemist. I'm sure you know him.
Oh yeah.
Stephen King. And obviously, I read a lot.
That really cool book, Soul Courage. Yeah.
yeah. Of course. Yeah, that really cool book, Soul Courage. Oh yeah, a lot of spiritual books, and so I love these, Stephen King. I love entertainment mixed with spirituality. I love both,
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, you went to the hospital. You had this depression. You went through eating disorders, and you said you were numbing your feelings. What feelings were you numbing?
Anything. I was so scared that I was like frozen. I swear, dude. I mean, I was like, I didn't realize it at the time. Now looking back, I mean, it certainly wasn't, the eating disorder was in no way to be skinny or anything. It was, I didn't know what to do with myself inside. I was trying to figure out how to control my world because I was so just like, what am I supposed to do? Confused and overwhelmed. And so I just remember I would vacillate back and forth between bulimia and anorexia. And I would just tell me if this is too much information.
No, it's perfect.
I don't know what the audience is like, but, I would vacillate back and forth between just like stuffing food down my face to try and just numb, because I don't know if you've ever eaten to the point where you can't taste anymore.
Mm-hmm. No, like food, no.
Maybe Thanksgiving, when we all like overeat, but.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
So we'd get to a point where I couldn't even taste the food anymore because I would eat so much and I would just keep eating. So let me just put
it seems to me that your numbing and your poetry came because somewhere in your book, Soul Courage, you talk about how your mom would say to you, okay, if you cry, go to your room, cry for 10 minutes and then, get over it type thing. And then that's right. When you would go into your diary and you started, but am I right?
That's right. I pour all my stuff out and I just tried to, and I didn't know then, but what I was doing, which I've recognized now as an adult, is I was giving myself what I call solitude, some time with myself, with my soul, to really understand, what is it am I feeling? Let me understand it. Let me try and identify it. Whereas most of the people, including adults, the vast majority of the adults just react today. They just yell or they just cry or they just, we're all like little kids still inside, and we don't just take a moment of reflection and I try and identify where it's coming from, or we do, maybe we don't at the time, but to just take that solitude, and it doesn't have to be taking a lot of time. The more comfortable you get with it, the more you can just do it within, but to just understand what's going on, what you're feeling, so that you can then express that feeling. Right. And release the energy of that feeling, because it's one thing to feel, but if we don't let those feelings out in some way, it's just energy trapped in our body, right?
And that's not good. We're going to talk about that. So once again, we're here with Tara-Jenelle Walsch. She's the author of the book Soul Courage and the founder and spirit behind the greeting card company Celebrate. Celebrate cards are being sold in hundreds of stores worldwide, carrying messages of encouragement and empowerment, as well as specialty designs created for best-selling authors such as Tony Robbins, Byron Katie, and Neil Donald Walsh. And guys, right before continuing this conversation, if you have a passion, something that fuels your curiosity, well, on top of getting fascinating interviews such as this one straight to your inbox, when you subscribe to our free Creative Magic community, you will get super cool exclusive gifts in return, such as the ebook Happiness Quotes by the Ambassador of Happiness herself, Maura Sweeney, one of our hosts at the Creative Magic Network, and also an exclusive conversation with two of my favorite people, Alex Okoroji and the blind blogger, Max Ivy, as we talk about the influence of friends and college education on our lives, the competitiveness in a crowded field, the importance of business and financial education in arts and entrepreneurship, and more. Alex also has a special gift for you inside. I promise you will get inspired and entertained. Subscribe for free at FrederickBye.com. That's Frederick with a C, bye like bye-bye.com. Okay, Tara, let's dive into the book. Why a book on courage? And why did you choose this particular emotion?
Because I realized that what I didn't have the courage to do back then was to feel my feelings and express them. And that's what I now call the sacred formula in my book. And that is feel, express, connect. And it's as simple as it sounds. When we have the courage to feel whatever we're feeling, even if we're feeling excited, sometimes we may feel joy and then be like, oh, and maybe it'll go away, or maybe I shouldn't act excited in front of other people, or we don't allow ourselves sometimes a vast array of feelings, whatever they are, not just the sadness. But when we do and we express that, there's always invariably a connection made with ourself, with the divine, with other people, with just life, just feeling like we know why we're here. We're like, yeah. So that's where it came from. I felt like, you know what? Courage, that's what it is. It's this deep, profound courage from our soul, almost. Right. It's unexplainable, but it's this loyalty to who we really are. So much so that all the facades and the masks and the walls of protection, they just drop away and we feel free to trust the moment with vulnerability. So that's kind of where it came from.
Yeah, when you talk about the masks and everything, it's something really now that I'm going to have to work on myself on, in that I don't enjoy business in many ways because of that. Like if you go to business networking events and, it's just, it's like sometimes, me as a creative guy is, I don't know. I get sometimes into, I get this objectivity where it's almost like a theatrical act. Like you watch a theater because if you really look at it you take a step back, you look at it from a distance, everybody's playing a character. Don't you find like, you know, you have the strong and then you have, it's just, anyway, I just don't enjoy it. And for these things, I try to come in being authentic, but you know, it's hard in business to do that.
It is hard. But you know, the cool thing is that when you are authentic, it always gives other people permission to be the same. Have you ever noticed that?
If you open up first, they'll feel more comfortable. It's like the wall goes down.
It almost melts away right in front of your very eyes. I've met people where they've been like, hi, nice to meet you. And I'll just be like, hey, how you doing? And I literally can feel their energy just like fall into themselves. And they're like, hey, and they start like being them. And it's like, I love it. It's magic. It's just, it feels so great, you know?
Right. Who are you on a soul level?
Are you asking me or are you talking at the beginning of the book?
I'm asking you.
Dun, dun, dun. Well, I start my book that way, as you know, and I believe that I am a soul, and I discuss that we all think that we're our body or our looks or our hair or our heritage, you know, or our name or our religion, or go on and on and on, you know, but that my belief is that we're a soul that has come to have an experience of life in this body so that we could experience life physically in this body. Like our body's a vehicle, in other words. I'm sure you've heard that. And that we've come here mainly, I believe, so that we can physically feel what we already know on some level. And to have the experience of that and to express it and to feel the connection of oneness with everyone. And I, just as I said a moment ago, and like as you're saying, the more authentic we are with ourselves and allow ourselves to feel that and express that, the more we feel not only that connection with others, but almost a sense of oneness. When someone melts right in front of your face and becomes themselves again, you're like, oh yeah, it's us. We're the same, right? Yeah. Even though we're not, we are. So it's that beautiful circle.
You know, it's very interesting what you're saying, because it reminds me when you get enlightened by something, when you go, oh, when you read something, you go, oh, and it enlightens you. It's as though you always knew it somewhere inside of you.
Yes.
But now it's just come to light or something. Like, it's like, I always kind of knew that, but I never became, I don't know, conscious of it. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, definitely. That's you're becoming more and more aware, and I feel like you're getting warmer to connecting with your soul when those things happen. Those aha moments. It's like, ooh, you get like little glimpses of feeling into who you really are.
Yeah, yeah. All right. In your book, you write about the questions: who are you and why are you here? And those are two of the most important questions. You write, both of these questions are central to the human experience. Yet apart from history's great philosophers, theologians, and spiritual leaders, most of humanity seems to roll through generation after generation just living without any interest in solving these riddles, or being too busy with simple survival to be concerned with them. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, it kind of just what I said. I call it, I say something about life's most important realization. Yeah. And to me, what life's most important realization is that time in your life where suddenly, kind of like what you just said a moment ago, is that aha moment, but probably one of the most grandest aha moments, because it's the first one where it's almost like your little beak is cracking out of the egg, you know, if you want to have a visual. You suddenly get, oh my God. It's that time in your life, and I don't know, however old you could have been. You could have been 15, you could be 48, you could be 76, you could be whatever. It doesn't matter what age. It's just you suddenly get that there's more to life. You feel this knowing that you're not just a body going to work, checking in at 9 and clocking out at 5. You know there's more at work going on here. You suddenly get the whole who are you and why are you here? And even if you don't believe spiritually and metaphysically in, quote, the soul or any of that, you somehow know this isn't just it. It's not. And that realization shifts dramatically your awareness and your sense of self and your connection with your soul and others in life.
Do you think it's like this for everybody? Because I can think of people, it's like when you talk about the soul and I'm the kind of person, like, I will ask myself, what is my purpose? You know, it's like, it's the eternal question, right? I've asked myself that question so many times.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have other people that question just doesn't, they don't care. Like, they just go to work and they buy a few stuff here and there and that's it. And they seem fine with it. And I go, why, you know, how are you doing? Like, I don't understand why you're, I don't know. Am I alone in this? You know what I mean?
You're not. And it's kind of like just what I said. We all are on our own path. And some people, I don't know, maybe they never even have that realization or even ask, what is my purpose in this life and who am I? Maybe they never even come to that in this life. That's not our business, though. I believe that. Yeah. You know, we got to just pull back and let everyone walk their own path. But it is kind of not frustrating, but like, interesting. I mean, I even have some friends that I wonder, but we also don't know what they do in their private time. Not everyone is open book as you and I, you know.
Mm-hmm. True. Okay, so you have people who are physically courageous, you know, mentally courageous. Mm-hmm. And then you have soul courage. And you say that it's another matter. Why is it another matter? Well, why, you know, most of us have a generous amount of physical courage and mental courage, but soul courage may be another matter. That's what you write.
Yeah, it's another matter altogether because soul courage stems from, like I said earlier, that place, that unexplainable place that just knows, that's just loyal to who we are. And it's another matter because once you identify with that, you have a whole new view of the world and life, just like we were saying about the realization. And the cool thing is that everyone has soul courage. That's the greatest thing ever. And the interesting thing for me was when I was writing the book, when I started writing that, this is so funny. I just thought I'll be a little vulnerable here. I actually started writing that, you know, everyone has soul courage because everyone is a soul and the soul encompasses all of life, right? So we all have it. But it's not a matter if we have it or not. It's that there's a difference between having courage and being courageous. There's a completely different thing. And having courage is courage in hibernation, while being courageous is like waking courage up. So it's like activating courage. So I'm writing all this down when I was writing the book. And I was like, when I wrote, everyone has soul courage, I stopped and I went, wait a minute. If everyone has soul courage, why does anyone need to read this book? What are you saying? You can't write that. And my mind started jumping in and trying to orchestrate. And I was just like, back off. I've got to trust my muse here. There's got to be more behind it. And that's when we all have courage. But for a lot of people, like those people that you were talking about that just go through life and they never seem to question, what's my purpose or who am I or I want to make a difference or what's it all about, Alfie? People that don't do that, maybe their courage is in hibernation, their soul courage. You know,
right.
Who knows? Right. But one way to activate courage is to just become aware of it, to just have this kind of conversation with yourself, let alone with other people. That's the very first initial peel of the orange, as I say.
One of the main thing and more important thing that you write somewhere in your book also is that, you know, you talk about pain, right? Mm-hmm. And you say even for yourself, you know, through pain, that's how you kind of discovered yourself. It seems to me that one thing in life that, you know, life is, it's as though life is made that way. We change through pain. Most of us have to reach the bottom of the barrel. We have to reach rock bottom before we finally make those damn changes. Mm-hmm. Why do you think that is? Why is it that way? You know what I mean? Why is it?
Well, I feel personally that we create that for ourselves. I don't think that we're victims of circumstance or victims of pain or anything. That's just my own belief. Some people feel that way as well. And I feel that way because it's empowering and it just resonates with me that I create certain things for myself to remind myself, to wake myself up, if you will. My soul, in other words, my soul is trying to wake up my human mind and say, okay, so she bumps into this and it might crack her open a little bit. She starts feeling this much pain. Maybe then she'll get it. It's almost as though it's rooting for you and wanting to connect with you and communicate with you in a way. And at long last, yes, that usually happens to the majority of people. Mm-hmm.
And I can't tell you how many people I speak to who say, yeah, I started to write my book when I lost my job, or I started this business when I lost my job, when I got the divorce, it's like, why do we got to reach that to start things, to start? I don't know. Sometimes, and it's the same for me, in my life. So,
wait a minute. I know. I wanted to say one little trinket about that, because when we get to the very bottom of despair is usually when we don't even have a choice but to feel.
Yeah.
It hurts bad that even if our cloaks and our masks and everything's on and we're trying to just not, be cool, it don't matter, right? Because it hurts and we feel suddenly without trying to protect ourselves. We have no way to just not feel in that moment. So then when we feel, it's like the egg cracks and all of a sudden we're expressing it through tears or anger or joy or writing in our journal or whatever. And then we make that connection. Aha.
We're sick and tired of being sick and tired, basically.
Correct.
All right, page 16, you write, we desperately seek to distract ourselves from any feeling of inner connection using one thing or another. And that is so true, Tara. That is so true. Watching TV, for me, it's browsing the internet, texting excessively, overeating, smoking, or even overthinking. These and more are our resistance techniques. Anything to engage our mind elsewhere and escape our emotions. Talk to us about those resistance techniques.
Resistance techniques. Yeah. Because you what?
No, I can relate to that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
you become like a zombie, in front of a computer. It's like you stop thinking. It's lazy. I don't know.
That's right. You check out, right? Yeah. And either it's a computer, or it's a glass of wine, or 2 or 3, or it's drugs, or who knows? It could be a variety. It could even be just texting or going on Facebook, or it's just checking out, and because whatever else in the moment does not want to be felt. I talk about that every single person in the world that is awake, that is facing the same decision in every single moment. And that decision is, how much of me am I willing to share? How much of me am I willing to share with myself if I'm completely alone? Am I willing to just, instead of getting online or numbing myself out or using some sort of resistance technique to escape and avoid feeling in that moment, am I really willing to just stop and feel that? So how much of me am I willing to share with myself, and how much of me am I willing to share with others? Am I willing to look others in the eyes when I speak with them, really listen to them without, figuring out what I'm going to say in return while they're talking? Am I willing to share, have my heart open? How in every moment, if you think of it, that we're awake, we're always unconsciously deciding that. And that kind of goes right into resistance techniques. And so I ask myself, because I don't think we'll ever completely diminish the urge to kind of have a resistance technique around the corner. Even I read the book. It's not like I don't have them, but the difference now is I'm aware of it. I'm aware of when I'm doing that. And I say, I just kind of check in with myself. What's going on, Tara? What do you, and sometimes I actually say, you know what? I just need 5 more minutes. Like I almost make a deal with myself. It's interesting to listen to my mind, Right. Just give me 5 more minutes of zoning out, whatever, on Facebook or whatever I'm doing. And then I make that deal, and then I close the computer and I just, I sit with it, or I go take a walk in nature and I just feel. I just allow myself to feel whatever. It doesn't mean there has to be anything going on, like a situation that I'm angry about. Sometimes it's just about feeling alive without stuff in our head all the time,
Yeah, that's one of the downsides of Facebook. Facebook does that a lot. You just watch other people's posts and you get, sometimes it's just, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Once again, we're here with Tara-Jenelle Walsch. She's the author of the book, Soul Courage, and the founder and spirit behind the greeting card company Celebrate. Celebrate cards are being sold in hundreds of stores worldwide, carrying messages of encouragement and empowerment, as well as specialty designs created for best-selling authors such as Tony Robbins, Byron Katie, and Neil Donald Walsh. And guys, right before continuing this conversation, are you an Amazon shopper? When you use our Amazon links at frederickbuy.com, Amazon kicks back a few bucks to the show, and it helps cover production costs at no additional cost to you. No hidden fees, no BS, no nothing. So if you like what you hear, you can help by going over to frederickbuy.com, Frederick with a C, buy like bye-bye.com. Click on the blog page and click the Amazon link in the sidebar for all your online shopping. It is really that simple, and bookmark it to find it easier. Okay, you just talked about how much of me am I willing to share? And I think that's one important thing. I think oftentimes we think about courage or people who have courage, and this, and we see these grand things that they do. They give millions of dollars to charity, and these people are good people because of the amount that they give. But in your book, you write that there is no metric system for the soul, and likewise no measurements of big and small when it comes to courage of the soul. I think that's important for people to know. Talk to us a little bit about that. That's
well,
important.
I mean, when we stop comparing, first of all, the people that donate all that money are just doing it for a tax write-off, but that's a whole different story. I won't go give credit for that one. But when we can let go of the comparing game in our mind, and that's hard. Geez, I get it. That's sometimes a challenge for me, When we can let go of, well, she's doing this and he's doing that, I should be here, or I should be doing better at my age, and why can't I get it together, and whatever. We let go of that and we just say, I'm doing the best that I can. And there's no meter. There's no God up there that's got a report card that's going, she's got a C-, she's getting awful close to a D. There's no, jury up there. It's just ourself. Really, it is. That's judging, sadly, ourself majority of the time. So when we let go of that, I believe that then we can really sink into our true self, which is courageous to do. And then, what usually happens is then we become more courageous because we become comfortable and we start, we have some elbow room. But we just, to not think that there has to, like, they're more courageous, or, when will I get there? Or I'm going to, be like that one day, or to let go of all that and to just be comfortable in our own skin and love and trust and be loyal to who we really are.
Mm-hmm. Okay. A lot of people, want to start businesses. They want to write these books. They want to have these careers, right? About, become an author, become an entrepreneur of some kind, but they're afraid of uncertainty because uncertainty means a paycheck. You don't know when the next paycheck is going to come from necessarily. And that's a big block for a lot of people. How do you remain calm in uncertainty? Because we all face it on different levels, but how do you remain calm in uncertainty?
I face it all the time still. I'm not, living high on the hog with my feet up on the fireplace and my hands behind my head, Mm-hmm. Trust me. I'm still kind of figuring out, okay, so come January, how am I getting my bills paid? Mm-hmm. So I got the same game going, but what I do, and the only thing that I feel I can really fall to that feels safe for me is to trust that when I'm doing something that really makes my heart sing and my soul sing and that feels like it's me, that things will work out. Right. Now, I say that with also having a sense of responsibility, not to be irresponsible about it and go, whatever, I just trust it's all going to work out, and being irresponsible. There's a certain amount of course, when we get to be an adult, that we have to take care of business at some level, and if you have to get an extra job on the side or whatever. But to have the faith and believe in ourselves enough to know that this is who I am. This is one of the reasons, this is one of the main forms of expression of who I am, at least right now in this moment. It might change next year, might change next week, might never change. Might be this is who I am for the rest of this lifetime. But right now, this is who I am, and I'm going to fully step into it. And 9 times out of 10, when we fully step into it, you guessed it, energetically, we attract like attracts like. So we attract opportunities, other people that are fully stepping into it, leads and interviews and, people that want to help us or support us or things that will support our path. And it's also our responsibility to reach out and to believe in ourselves enough that we can reach out without having our tail between our legs, that we can know what we're doing is who we are. And hey, man, can I, would you mind if, could you interview me on your show so I could talk to your community or whatever? I'm just giving an example. Yeah. Whatever. Can I borrow $300 or it's going towards a good thing? Whatever, to just reach out and to know and to believe in ourselves. It's all part of the circle.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I think one part of your book that I really connected was, what do I do with my joy? For me, my pain, okay, I write a lot and I love to write. And when it comes to fear, pain, I'm not saying that I control it, of course not. I don't control everything, that's for sure. But the joy, and you're right, too often when we receive wonderful news, our immediate response is to call a friend, post it on Facebook, fix a drink, or find another distraction before we even feel into the joy. We think this is part of feeling the joy, but it's not. What we are doing is waiting for the reaction of the other person to give us permission to gauge the level of joy that we will allow ourselves to feel. And then we adjust our expression accordingly. And this is another line that I think I really connected to. You're right. This is why many times when we share something joyful with another and we don't get the reaction we expected, we feel let down and curtail our own exuberance. For me, I have a hard time expressing joy. Like, it's as though I don't know how to. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Oh, God, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So talk to us a little bit about that. What do I do with my joy?
Right. Well, as you just said, even as I said earlier, what do I do with my pain and what do I do with my joy are equal.
Yeah,
People, there's so much emphasis on pain and fear, rightfully so, but that we all forget that it's hard to feel joy too sometimes. And we would think, oh, it's not hard. Come on. You get it. What's he worried about or what's she worried about? She got cut such a big break. She should be jumping up for joy. But not always, because we have our own inner limitations in our mind, that mind chatter. Like I was suggesting earlier, we may be saying, oh, what am I going to do if it gets taken away? Or, all these things go through our mind. And even if nothing goes through our mind, sometimes it's literally physically hard or difficult or uncomfortable for us to just let the energy out and express it, even if we're completely alone. So what I do sometimes is because I shared the same thing with the joy. It's not always easy for me to express it. It all depends on the circumstance. Actually, I can't talk suddenly. But sometimes what I do is when I catch myself, because I'm so super aware of what's going on with my body now, and everything and my emotions and expression of them, that when I catch myself curtailing my joy, then I stop and I breathe into it. And instead, I purposely don't reach for the phone or go on Facebook and go, guess what, guys? I just got the book deal of the century, or I don't do that. I give myself that moment first. And it's sometimes it's difficult, but I literally physically will jump up and down and go, woohoo! And like, it's weird because I can feel my own resistance.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to come out sometimes. Right. And I'm like, instead of judging it and saying, what's that all about? What's wrong with you? I don't do that. I just go, give it another try. And about the second or the third time, it's starting to come out and feel good because it's like that trapped energy, and for whatever reason, we could go to counseling and a psychiatrist for the rest of our life and figure out it's because we don't feel worthy or when we were a child or whatever. I don't think need to figure all that out. We know that it's basically trapped energy for some reason or another, but to let it out and celebrate it, man, is that freedom. That is such freedom.
I'm going to try that next time. Two or three times. Okay. I did it, I think, once or twice, but I'm going to do it 3 times. I'm giving myself 4 shots.
Another thing that works for me is to, sing or dance, when I'm alone, I know that something may sound a little bit crazy, but to just be like, and to be stupid, just to be stupid alone and not care And it's like that sense of vulnerability and expression. You're letting all that energy out and you're just feeling good and you're just going, yeah, who cares? This is great. This feels good. And I'm starting to feel my joy more.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. The experience with the sales clerk. That was interesting. It's very rare that we observe the sales clerk and that we, try to feel or know what is their body language. And it's true that we did not give enough attention to the sales clerks. Tell us about that experience with the sales clerk.
Well, it's not really specifically about the sales clerk or sales clerks anywhere in the stores worldwide. That was just an example of how I, quote, tried out the sacred formula, feel, express, connect in the real world. Because when I first tried it, when I first kind of experimented with my theory, when we feel the thing that we're feeling and express it, we make a connection. That was my little aha moment. Then I tried it with my mom and my friends, and I got amazing results. I mean, like I felt open, they felt open. It was a connection. And I was like, well, okay, what about out there with strangers? Does this really still is it still as effective? So I gave it a whirl. I went out to Target. I don't even know where I was. I don't really think it matters, just wherever strangers are. And I just checked in with myself before I went in the store and said, all right, I mean, it may seem silly, but just to give a moment of, I don't need to have my head in my iPhone and look at my list of all the things that I need to do. Of course, we can refer to it, but I don't need to hide. I can smile at people and look up and talk to people and just be open, have my walls down when I'm out and about around strangers. And that was my experience that I was sharing in the book about moving around in Target. And then the finale being the sales clerk, who I noticed was a bit distraught at that moment. And instead of just putting, my head in my purse and getting my, debit card out and shuffling through things and saying, fine, when she said, how are you doing? I said, great. How are you, Stephanie? And, read her name off her name tag instantly and just kind of made a little connection, which is probably stuff that is not that crazy. A lot of people may do that, but I just took a moment to be present with her. And in doing so, I realized that she was not doing so great. Yeah. Now, of course, it wouldn't be appropriate for me to, go behind the counter and hug her and say, how you feeling? And do you need, that's not appropriate. Right. But it also didn't feel appropriate to my soul to just go, okay, have a great day. That was not who I was in that moment. So I just reached out to her and touched her arm, asked her how she was. And she ended up, as you read in the book, confiding in me that she was having a rough day and, just
her
offering.
Left her.
Correct.
Broke up with her.
Yeah. So just offering, it's the whole, how much of me am I willing to share? Right. Mm-hmm. Offering a little bit of ourself. No one's asking you to be best friends with strangers, but removing that wall, even just for a few moments, even if it's, and especially so, if it's uncomfortable, being vulnerable and there with another and showing them that they're not alone. That creates that sense of oneness and leaves them no doubt feeling better than before you connected with them.
Right. You talk about the formula. Feel, express, connect. Talk to us a little bit about that. How did you come up with that formula?
I just kind of went over that. When I realized, we kind of been talking about this. I don't want to regurgitate everything I said. Yeah. When I had the aha moment of, oh my gosh, when I'm feeling the things that I feel, whatever they are, even if it's, sadness or confusion, when I'm not holding it inside, it's a resistance technique. And then I actually let that energy out in some way. If it's just writing in my journal, if it's talking to another person, if it's crying or laughing or jumping up and down, I feel connected. I feel connected to life. I feel connected to my soul. I feel connected with the other person if someone's there. And that's when I realized, whoa, wait a minute. Am I onto something here? Am I losing my mind? Or is there some sort of, symmetry to this, some kind of formula, like feel, express, connect, like that's feel plus express equals connect. And then I started kind of in my mind calling it, a formula, like, I was just carrying it in my thoughts. And then that's when I tried it, quote unquote, on my mom and then my friends. And then I went out to the department store and kind of just when I say tried it, I mean, I was just conscious of myself in that moment and allowing myself to move through those three things.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that crazy? Like inspiration when it comes, you get this idea in your mind and then you kind of stick with it and then it comes by itself and then things just happen. Subtle. It's so silent. It's so subtle. It seems that the universe communicates with us in such subtle ways that you have to really, it's like whispers. You have to be aware. You have to feel your way through as opposed to stop using your brain, stop using your mind, rational mind, It's unbelievable. Creativity is, I ask people, what's your creative process usually? And they can never answer me. You know what I mean? Like it kind of happens, but they don't know how it happens.
Yeah. Well, and not to make it seem like my formula is the creative process, but for me, even if I'm outside painting, because I paint as well, abstract art, if I go out there and I'm like, okay, I'm going to paint this, and then I'm going out there with my mind, and I'm 9 times out of 10, I give up. I'm going, that's not working, and I can't find that magic opening, that creative inspiration. But when I go out there and I feel whatever I'm feeling and I feel into the moment, like I'll say, oh, how am I feeling now? I'm feeling a little sad. And I just choose colors that are, warm or blue or whatever that feel like my feeling. And I just start painting without any kind of like idea of what it should look like. I just paint from my feeling and I express through that. To me, that's kind of like the opening, the doorway to creativity for writing, painting, anything that I do, even cooking, for crying out loud. It's like, how do I feel? I want a little more spice,
Yeah. Yeah. Right. All right. So we're going to wrap this up in a few minutes here. Socializing. You talk about the 5 guides for socializing.
Yeah.
And soul is SOUL, socializing.
That's right.
So what are those 5 guides? Willingness, vulnerability, gratitude.
That's right. Willingness, vulnerability, gratitude, intention, and presence. Mm-hmm. And socializing basically means to connect with us, ourselves, life, and others. And it's basically a way of being. It's like a practice of how we're being. And it's what I've been talking about this whole time, letting our walls down and being authentic and so forth. And the first one, willingness, to me is the first guide because everything starts with willingness. Even having the willingness to be willing is willingness. So when we're kind of stumped and like, I don't want to do that, then that's resistance. So willingness is the first one for me. And vulnerability is that cracking of the egg, that really being okay and trusting like, hey, is this who I am? And whatever that looks like is okay. Now, I'm not saying step all over people, but like you said, when you go to the Chamber of Commerce meetings or whatever, not having to put on this act, just being vulnerable for a minute and just being you.
Yeah, it makes a big difference when you're doing something that you are. Like, when I was a financial advisor, it was so not me. It was like everything felt awkward. So that's when you become awkward. That's when you put a mask. When your work is you, represents you, is just from the soul, then that's different also. That also helps.
Exactly. Absolutely. And then gratitude. When we have gratitude for everything in life, and we forget because we want so much. So much of us is not present. It's in the future. It's, I got to be better. I got to have this. I got to have that. And then I'll be better. And once I get a house and once I get a car and blah, blah, blah. But when we just take a look at our own hands, look down at your fingers and wiggle them and say, I've got 2 hands. There's so many people in the world that don't even have that capability, let alone the magnificent personality I have or the brains that I have or the whatever. And to just take a moment of gratitude, and that puts you in the present immediately, because when you appreciate something in the moment, you're basically reaffirming to yourself that you are indeed in that moment. So that's the third thing. And then the next is intention, because without intention around anything, we'd be kind of aimless and scattered, right? We would just be like, oh, well, let's see what happens. But when we're clear on, what we want or what we want to feel or what we want to do or what we want to have in our life, then we create with socializing, we want to create the intention to connect with others. Then we connect, in a way that is like we're clear about that, and we're putting it out. We're throwing a line, almost like we're fishing, out into the water and pulling it in, versus just going, yeah, it's something I want to do. Let's see what happens. Mm-hmm. So, and then the last one being presence, because seeing and experiencing what is currently in front of us, being present, is the way to truly connect with ourself, with others, and with life. So those are the guides.
Wow, Tara.
A big mouthful.
I'm sorry?
A big mouthful, huh?
Yeah. So you talk about a lot of other things, more things in your book. Where can we find you, and where can we buy your book?
You can check me out on Facebook, obviously, under Tara-Jenelle Walsch. I have the Soul Courage page, which is Tara-Jenelle Walsch, and then I also have a personal page. And then you can find my book on Amazon.com. You can also go to my website at soulcourage.com and check me out there.
All right, Tara. Thank you very much for this. Amazing, inspiring, just the way we like it here. So thank you again. Thank you for doing this. We're honored, and much success to you in the future, really.
Thank you, Frederick. You're super cool. I really appreciate, having this opportunity to speak with your community. Thank you, and the best to you.
Alrighty, guys. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you again for Tara, for such an inspiring interview. Man, I love to talk these subjects. I think there's subjects that a lot of people need to hear. A lot of people, I'm starting to realize that a lot of people feel stuck, feel they're not where they feel they're not where they want to be in their lives. And I think these types of conversation will open you up, to living this creative life, this inspired life, as opposed to being a hamster on a wheel. By the way, guys, when you pick up her book from our website at frederickby.com, Amazon kicks back a few bucks to the show, and it helps cover production costs. No additional cost to you, no hidden fees, no nothing. So, you can go to frederickby.com, Frederick with a C, by like bye-bye.com. Click on her page, Tara-Jenelle Walsch, you'll see it, and click the link to her book. It is that simple. We would like to thank those who pledged to our Patreon page. You are really helpful to the show, and we are grateful for your help. In case you're wondering, Patreon is a simple, fast, easy way for you to contribute to the network every single month and get super cool exclusive rewards in return. I promise you will love the perks. Our Patreon page is at frederickby.com. Click Patreon in the header, and the money is used to cover our production cost and editing time and sharing to the different podcast channels. You can contribute for as low as $1 a month. Yes, $1 a month. And guys, by the way, we're looking for new hosts on the network. If you're a wannabe podcaster, if you're starting out a podcast world, or if you are a podcaster and you're looking to expand your listenership, Creative Magic Network is in its infancy, and we are willing to help you for that. We're really willing to help you if you want to be part of the network. We're looking for entrepreneurial, positively oriented individuals, podcasters, to add to the network. And like I said, since the network is still in its infancy, the plans right now are very affordable. The regular plan is $50 a month. So most networks charge at least $250 a month. And pretty soon, guys, we're looking at, adding the network to a radio station. Hopefully this will work out. To me, it's just a matter of time. Just a matter of time and a matter of fun, and then we're off and running. That's it. And we're going to get there. We are going to get there. Creative Magic store is open and well. T-shirts, mugs, DVDs, recommended reading, a bunch of cool stuff for you. Maybe for Christmas. Hey, maybe it'd be nice too. You can just give a book, just a book or a t-shirt, Creative Magic store, man. Just check it out 24/7. It's designed with meaning. It's made to inspire you, to tap into your intuition, and to add a little bit of magic into your life. And guys, this podcast is free every time you download it on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you find your podcast. It's pretty much everywhere right now. It is listener supported. Tell a friend, leave a 5-star review. It really helps a brother out. And that's it for me for today. Time for me to ride off into the sunset. They're giving me the go home cue. And I got to take care of my baby, got to take care of business. And stay safe. And don't forget, live with purpose, passion, fire, and love. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Frederick Bai Show. For more information, go to frederickbai.com. That's Frederick with a C, Bai like bye-bye.com.